My parents stole $45,000 from my grandmother. And it was all to protect my sister after she nearly killed someone while driving drunk in my car. I never thought opening a letter from my insurance company would expose a web of lies that would tear my entire family apart. My parents stole $45,000 from my grandmother. My sister nearly killed someone while driving drunk in my car. And somehow, I became the villain for refusing to keep their secrets. This is my story, and trust me, you won't believe where it goes. My name is Jessica, and I'm 27 years old. For most of my life, I thought I understood my family. Sure, there was favoritism. Sure, my younger sister Maya got away with things I never could. But I never imagined the depths they'd go to protect her. It started 3 months ago with an insurance letter. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sorting through mail after work, when I saw the envelope. Premium increase notice. I figured it was one of those standard rate hikes everyone complains about, but when I opened it, my stomach dropped. $200 per month. A $2,400 annual increase. I called them immediately. My hands were shaking as I dialed because I knew something was wrong. I'd been driving the same Honda Civic for 6 years without a single accident or ticket. My record was spotless. The customer service representative pulled up my file. Ms. Pearson, I'm showing here that your vehicle was involved in an accident approximately 3 months ago. That's why we've adjusted your premium. I actually laughed. There must be a mistake. I haven't been in any accident. According to our records, on the night of August 15th, you filed a claim for collision damage. The report states you swerved to avoid a deer and struck a guardrail. August 15th. I felt sick. 3 months ago, I was in Chicago for 2 weeks on a business trip. The biggest presentation of my career, actually. A potential client worth millions to my company. I'd been preparing for months. And because airport parking costs $30 a day, I'd left my car at my parents' house. They live 15 minutes from the airport, and it seemed like the practical choice. My 20-year-old sister Maya still lives with them while she's in her 3rd year at Westfield Private College. One of those expensive schools that costs more per year than I make in 6 months. When I got back from Chicago, my car looked fine. But it drove weird. The steering felt off, and there was this rattling sound every time I turned right. I'd convinced myself I was being paranoid, that maybe I'd just forgotten how my own car handled after 2 weeks of not driving it. Now I knew why it felt different. I need the full accident report, I told the representative. I need every detail you have, because I was not driving that car. She put me on hold. Those 3 minutes felt like hours. When she came back, she walked me through the claim. Time of accident, 3:17 a.m. Location, Highway 42, 2 miles from my parents' house. Damage, front-end collision, estimated repair cost $4,200. I hung up and drove straight to my parents' house. My parents live in a modest 3-bedroom ranch in the suburbs. The same house I grew up in. Same beige siding, same garden gnomes my mom collects, same basketball hoop in the driveway where I spent hours practicing as a kid. It felt different that day. Like I was seeing it through new eyes. Dad's truck was in the driveway. So was Maya's car, the white SUV they bought her last year to replace the one before that. The replacement for the car they'd given her for her 18th birthday. Her 3rd car in 3 years. I didn't knock. I used my key and walked straight in. They were in the living room. Dad watching TV, Mom folding laundry, Maya on her phone on the couch. Normal family scene. Except nothing about this family was normal. I threw the insurance letter on the coffee table. Want to explain this? The look that passed between my parents told me everything. Guilt. Panic. Dad reached for the remote and muted the TV. Mom set down the shirt she was folding. Maya didn't even look up from her phone. Sweetheart, Mom started, using that soft voice she always uses when she's about to justify something terrible. We can explain. I'm waiting. Dad cleared his throat. He's always been the one who handles the difficult conversations, though usually he's lecturing me about responsibility. There was an incident while you were in Chicago. A minor accident. We handled it. You handled it. By committing insurance fraud and lying to me for 3 months. Maya finally looked up. It wasn't fraud, Jess. God, you're so dramatic. Stay out of this, I snapped at her, then turned back to my parents. What happened? And I want the truth, all of it. Mom's eyes started tearing up. She does this thing where she cries whenever she's caught doing something wrong, like her tears are supposed to make everyone feel bad for holding her accountable. Maya needed to go to a party, she said quietly. Her friends were waiting, and she didn't want to pay for an Uber. So you let her take my car? The car I specifically left here because I trusted you. She's a good driver, Dad interjected. It was just bad luck. A deer ran out. There was no deer. The silence that followed was deafening. The insurance investigator told me everything, I continued, my voice shaking with anger. I know what time the accident happened. I know where it happened. And I know there was no deer. So tell me the truth, or I walk out that door and never come back. Maya stood up abruptly. Fine. I hit a guardrail, okay? I was coming back from Tyler's party, and I misjudged a turn. It was dark, I was tired, and I made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. You took my car without permission. I didn't think you'd care. It's just a car. I looked at my parents. And you. You knew about this and said nothing. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We took it to Mark's shop. He's a friend, did us a favor and fixed it off the books. We filed the insurance claim under your name so you'd get it covered, but we changed the date so you wouldn't worry about it while you were on your important trip. We were protecting you. Protecting me. You committed fraud. You lied to the insurance company, you lied to me, and now I'm paying an extra $200 a month because of your lies. Mom was full on crying now. We're family, Jessica. Family protects each other. We thought we were doing the right thing. The right thing would have been telling me the truth. You would have been so angry, Maya said, and I noticed she wasn't crying. She wasn't even apologetic. She was annoyed. You would have made it this huge thing and ruined everything. I am angry, and you should have faced the consequences. That's when Dad stood up, his face reddening. You need to calm down. We handled the situation. The car is fixed. What's the problem? The problem is I'm paying $2,400 more per year for something I didn't do. The problem is you've taught Maya that she doesn't have to take responsibility for anything. The problem is... Here we go, Maya interrupted, rolling her eyes. The golden child speech. You've always been jealous of me, Jess. I actually laughed. Jealous? Of you? Yes. You can't stand that Mom and Dad treat me differently. That I got to go to a real college instead of community college. That I got a new car instead of some used piece of junk. You've been bitter about it for years. Mom reached out to touch my arm. Honey, Maya's young. She's still learning. When you were her age. When I was her age, I was working 2 jobs to help pay your bills because Dad got laid off. I gave you my paychecks from the diner. I put myself through community college. And when I scratched your car, parallel parking when I was 17, you made me work extra shifts for 3 months to pay for the repairs. 3 months, for a scratch. Dad crossed his arms. That was different. You needed to learn responsibility. And Maya doesn't. She's going through a difficult time right now, Mom said. The pressure at school, trying to fit in with her friends. She doesn't need her sister attacking her. I looked at Maya. Really looked at her. She was staring at her phone again, scrolling through Instagram like this conversation was boring her. How many times, Maya? I asked quietly. How many times have you driven drunk? Her head snapped up. I wasn't drunk. Don't lie to me. How many times? Oh my God, it was one time. I had like 2 drinks, and that was hours before. You're not even denying it. Mom jumped in. Jessica, you're being unreasonable. Maya made a mistake, yes, but she's okay, the car is fixed, and I want Maya to pay the insurance increase every month until my rate goes back to normal. Absolutely not, Dad said firmly. She's a student. She doesn't have that kind of money. Then you pay it. Because I'm not paying for her mistakes anymore. We let you live here rent-free for 6 months after college, Dad shot back. We helped you when you needed it. That's what family does. You're seriously using that against me? I lived here for 6 months while I was job hunting because I couldn't afford rent while paying off my student loans. Loans I needed because you couldn't afford to send me to college. But somehow you found money for Maya's private school. Times were different then, Mom said weakly. Your father's job situation. I know. Times change. Dad got a better job. I get it. But that doesn't excuse this. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling my insurance company back. I'm telling them I wasn't driving. That you filed a fraudulent claim in my name. You wouldn't dare, Dad said, his voice low and dangerous. Watch me. Maya started crying then. Real tears this time, not crocodile tears. Jess, please. If you do that, I could lose my scholarship. I could get expelled. You'd ruin my entire life over one stupid mistake. Then you should have thought about that before you stole my car and drove drunk. I wasn't drunk. Yes, you were. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done covering for you. I'm done pretending everything's fine. I'm done being the responsible one while you get away with everything. Mom grabbed my arm as I headed for the door. Jessica, please. Think about what you're doing. You'll tear this family apart. I pulled away from her. I'm not the one who tore it apart. You did that when you chose to lie to me. As I walked out, I could hear Maya sobbing dramatically and my parents trying to comfort her. The golden child. The protected one. The one who never faced consequences. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, shaking, before I could drive away. The only person who supported my decision was my cousin Tyler. He's 25, works in tech, and has always been more like a brother to me than Maya ever was a sister. He came over that night with pizza and beer. They actually did that, he said, shaking his head in disbelief as I told him the whole story. Filed a claim in your name? Yep. And they acted like I was the crazy one for being upset about it. That's insurance fraud. Like, actual criminal fraud. I know. Are you really going to report them? I took a long drink of my beer. I reported it this afternoon. The insurance company is opening an investigation. Tyler's eyes widened. Damn. You really did it. My parents have been calling non-stop. 23 missed calls. 47 text messages. All of them telling me I'm overreacting, that I'm being cruel, that I'm going to destroy Maya's future. You're not destroying anything. She destroyed it herself when she drove drunk and crashed your car. Tell that to my family. According to them, I'm the villain. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom. Please, Jessica. Let's talk about this. We can work something out. Don't do this to your sister. Tyler read it over my shoulder. Don't do what? Don't hold her accountable? That's literally all you're doing. They don't see it that way. They think family means covering up for each other no matter what. That's not what family means. That's enabling. Over the next few days, the calls and texts continued. Not just from my parents, but from other relatives too. Aunt Carol sent me a long message about forgiveness and how everyone makes mistakes when they're young. Uncle Pete called to tell me I was being vindictive. My grandmother, Dad's mom, left me a voicemail saying she was disappointed in me for causing drama. The only one who didn't reach out was Maya. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she'd done. Instead, she started posting on social media. Cryptic posts about betrayal. Quotes about forgiveness. Pictures of us as kids with captions like, "Blood is thicker than water," and "Real sisters protect each other." Tyler showed me screenshots. She's playing the victim. Of course she is. That's what she does. She messes up, and somehow it becomes everyone else's fault. Your parents trained her well. The investigation moved quickly. The insurance company found inconsistencies in the claim immediately. The date didn't match witness reports. The damage didn't match the description. And when they pulled traffic camera footage from the area, the investigator called me a week later. "Ms. Pearson, we need to discuss some additional information we've uncovered." My heart sank. What information? There were passengers in the vehicle at the time of the accident. 3 other individuals, all college-aged. And Ms. Pearson, I need to ask you this directly. Were you aware that one of the passengers was seriously injured? I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What? Charlotte Rodriguez, age 20. She suffered a compound fracture of her right arm that required emergency surgery. The medical records indicate she was transported to St. Mary's Hospital at approximately 3:45 a.m. on August 15th. "No," I whispered. "No, they told me it was just a fender bender. Just Maya misjudging a turn." "Ms. Pearson, we have security footage from a gas station 2 miles from the accident site. The timestamp shows 2:43 a.m. Would you like to know what that footage shows?" I already knew. But I let him tell me anyway. 4 individuals exiting the establishment. All appearing intoxicated. Your sister was behind the wheel. The passenger who was later injured, Ms. Rodriguez, was not wearing a seatbelt. Oh my God. There's more. According to our investigation, your parents paid Ms. Rodriguez's family $45,000 to prevent them from pressing charges or reporting the incident to the police. $45,000? Where would they even get that kind of money? That's something you'll need to discuss with them. But Ms. Pearson, I need to be clear with you. Your parents are now facing potential criminal charges for insurance fraud. The local police department has been notified and will be conducting their own investigation. After I hung up, I sat on my floor and cried. Not because I felt bad about reporting them, but because they'd lied to me about everything. This wasn't a simple fender bender. This wasn't Maya making a small mistake. She'd driven drunk with 3 friends in the car. One of them had been seriously injured. And my parents had paid nearly $50,000 to cover it up. I drove to my parents' house the next morning. I didn't call first. I just showed up. Dad answered the door, and his face went pale when he saw me. "We need to talk," I said. Now. Maya was at school. It was just my parents and me. I stood in their living room, the same room where we'd had our first confrontation, and I asked them directly, "Did you pay Charlotte Rodriguez's family $45,000? Mom's face crumpled. Dad looked at the floor. "How did you find out?" he asked quietly. "The insurance investigation. They found everything. The security footage. The hospital records. All of it." "Jessica," Mom started, reaching for me. "Don't." I stepped back. "Don't touch me. Don't cry. Just tell me the truth. All of it." So they did. Maya had been at a party at someone's house near campus. She'd been drinking heavily. Her friends, Isabel, Nathan, and Charlotte, were with her. They'd all been drinking. Around 2:30 a.m., they decided to leave. Instead of calling an Uber like any responsible person would, Maya suggested they take my car. It was right there at my parents' house, just a short walk from the party. "Why didn't you stop her?" I asked. "You were home. You must have heard her leave." "We were asleep," Dad said. We didn't know she'd left until she called us at 3:15. They'd been at the scene by 3:30. Maya was hysterical. Nathan was trying to calm her down. Isabel was on her phone. And Charlotte was in the back seat, screaming in agony, her arm bent at an unnatural angle. Dad had made a decision in that moment. He'd driven Charlotte to the hospital himself while Mom stayed with Maya and the other two. They'd told the emergency room staff that Charlotte had fallen down the stairs during a sleepover at their house. Charlotte's parents had arrived at the hospital an hour later. They knew, Mom said, wiping her eyes. They knew it wasn't a fall. The injury pattern didn't match. The doctor suspected it was a car accident. Charlotte's mother demanded the truth. So my parents had told them. Not the full truth, they'd left out the drunk driving part, but enough that Charlotte's parents knew Maya had been driving. They wanted to press charges, Dad continued. They were furious. Charlotte had a full scholarship to Westfield too. She'd have to miss at least one semester recovering from her injury. They wanted Maya arrested, expelled, everything. So you paid them off. We negotiated, Dad said, like that made it better. We agreed to pay all of Charlotte's medical expenses and replace her lost semester of college costs. It came to $45,000. Where did you get that money? Silence. Mom. Dad. Where did you get $45,000? We took out a second mortgage on the house, Mom finally said. But there was something in the way she said it. A hesitation. A lie. That's not all of it, I said. Is it? More silence. Is it? We also borrowed some money from your grandmother, Dad admitted. About half. We're paying her back. We just needed time. I felt dizzy. You took money from Grandma Ruth? Does she know? Not exactly, Mom said. We have access to her accounts to help her manage her finances. She's getting older, and sometimes she forgets to pay bills, so we... You stole from her. We borrowed it. Mom insisted. We're paying it back. Does she know you borrowed it? She will when we tell her. Once we have the money to pay her back. I sat down before I fell down. This just keeps getting worse. You didn't just commit insurance fraud. You stole from an elderly woman. Your own mother. We didn't steal, Dad said firmly. We borrowed. There's a difference. Did you ask her permission? She would have said yes if we'd asked. But you didn't ask. We couldn't. She would have wanted to know why we needed the money, and we couldn't tell her about Maya's accident. She'd never understand. So you just took it. We were going to pay it back before she noticed, Mom said desperately. We've already put back $8,000. We're making payments. She'll never know. I stood up. I'm telling her. Today. Jessica, no. She deserves to know that her own son stole her retirement savings. We didn't steal it. Dad shouted, his face red. We borrowed it to protect your sister. To keep her from going to jail. To keep her from losing everything she's worked for. She hasn't worked for anything. I shouted back. You've handed her everything. And every time she screws up, you fix it for her. When does it end? When does she finally face consequences? She's your sister, Mom said, crying again. She made a mistake. A terrible mistake, yes, but she's young. She deserves a second chance. This isn't her second chance. It's her fifth. Or sixth. I've lost count. How many accidents has she been in? 3. 4. Those were minor. Someone got hurt this time. Charlotte broke her arm. Maya was driving drunk. She could have killed someone. But she didn't, Dad said. Everyone is fine. Everyone is not fine. Charlotte missed a semester of college. I'm paying an extra $200 a month for insurance. Grandma is missing $45,000 from her retirement. And you two are facing criminal charges. How is any of that fine? We wouldn't be facing charges if you hadn't reported us, Dad said coldly. I stared at him. You're blaming me for this? You went to the insurance company. You told them everything. You could have just handled this privately, within the family, but you had to make it a big public thing. Because you committed fraud. Because you lied to me. Because you're jealous of Maya, Dad interrupted. You've always been jealous of her. You can't stand that we're able to give her opportunities that we couldn't give you. So you're trying to ruin her life. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Where are you going? Mom called after me. To see Grandma. To tell her the truth. Since you clearly never will. Grandma Ruth lives in a senior living facility about 20 minutes from my parents' house. It's a nice place, not a nursing home, just an apartment complex for older adults with some medical staff on site. She's 83, but still sharp as a tack. Former accountant. She'd worked for the same firm for 40 years before retiring. She's always been careful with money, always planned ahead. I found her in her apartment, working on a crossword puzzle. Jessica! She lit up when she saw me. What a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting you today. Hi, Grandma. We need to talk about something important. Her smile faded. Is everything okay? I sat down across from her. When's the last time you checked your bank account? My bank account? I don't know, dear. Your father helps me manage that. Why? Grandma, have you had any problems paying your bills lately? Well, actually, yes. Last week I got a notice from the facility saying my monthly payment was declined. I was so confused. I know I have enough money in my account. I've been saving for years. I took a deep breath. Grandma, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be upsetting. You're scaring me, Jessica. Dad took money from your account. $45,000. Without asking you. She went very still. He what? I told her everything. Maya's drunk driving accident. Charlotte's injury. The payoff. The lies. Grandma Ruth didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just sat there, her face getting harder and harder. When I finished, she stood up, walked to her desk, and pulled out her laptop. She logged into her online banking while I watched. The silence stretched out as she reviewed her account. $37,000, she finally said. That's all that's left. From almost $82,000. Grandma, I'm so sorry. How long has this been going on? According to Mom, about 3 months. They said they were going to pay you back before you noticed. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Pay me back? With what money? They already have a mortgage. Now they have a second mortgage. Where exactly were they planning to get $45,000 to pay me back? I don't know. She closed her laptop with a sharp click. I need you to drive me to the police station. Grandma. Now, Jessica. The police took Grandma Ruth's statement very seriously. Financial elder abuse is a felony in our state. And when they learned about the insurance fraud and the cover-up of a drunk driving accident with injuries, let's just say my parents were in deep trouble. The next 2 weeks were a blur of phone calls, lawyers, and family drama. My parents hired an attorney. An expensive one, which seemed ironic given that they supposedly didn't have money. Maya was called in for questioning. According to Tyler, who heard it from his mom, Maya had a complete breakdown at the police station. She'd apparently confessed to everything, including other times she'd driven drunk that my parents had covered up. Other times. Plural. The college launched its own investigation. Witnesses came forward about Maya's partying. About the drinking. About her getting behind the wheel intoxicated multiple times. Her scholarship was revoked. Charlotte's family, once they learned the full truth, decided to press charges after all. Turns out my parents had lied to them too, leaving out key details about just how drunk Maya had been. And then there was my family's reaction. About half of them thought I'd done the right thing. Grandma Ruth was in this camp, obviously. So was Tyler. So were a few cousins who'd always seen through the favoritism. The other half thought I was destroying the family over a mistake. Aunt Carol called me heartless. Uncle Pete said I'd regret this for the rest of my life. Even some cousins I'd been close to stopped talking to me. The worst was Maya's social media campaign. She posted long rants about family betrayal. She shared old photos of us with captions about how sisters should protect each other. She even started a GoFundMe to help pay for a lawyer, claiming she was being persecuted for a single error in judgment. Some people actually donated. Tyler showed me everything, since I'd blocked Maya on all platforms. She's raised $3,000, he said, scrolling through the GoFundMe. People are eating up her victim story. Of course they are. She's always been good at playing the victim. Your parents are commenting on all her posts, backing her up. They're making you sound like a monster. I don't care anymore. But I did care. Of course I did. These were my parents. This was my sister. And despite everything they'd done, some part of me still wanted them to understand why I'd done this. That understanding never came. Instead, 3 weeks after Grandma Ruth filed her police report, my parents were formally charged. Insurance fraud. Financial elder abuse. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Maya was charged separately. DUI with injury. Driving without a license holder's permission. Filing a false police report. Their court dates were set for 2 months out. Mom called me from a blocked number. I made the mistake of answering. I hope you're happy, she said, her voice thick with tears. Your father and I could go to prison. Your sister could go to prison. All because you couldn't just let this go. All because you committed crimes, I corrected her. I didn't do this to you. You did it to yourselves. We were protecting our daughter. You were enabling her. There's a difference. She's your sister. Don't you care about what happens to her? Of course I care. That's why I'm not helping you cover this up anymore. Because the next time she drives drunk, she might kill someone. And that would be on all of you. Mom was silent for a long moment. Then she said, I will never forgive you for this. I can live with that. She hung up. I sat there for a long time afterward, staring at my phone. Tyler came over that night with Chinese food and found me crying on my couch. They all hate me, I said. My parents, Maya, half the family. They all think I'm this terrible person. You're not terrible. You're the only one in your family who actually has a moral compass. It doesn't feel that way. Because you're doing the right thing, and the right thing is usually the hardest thing. It's been 6 months since I reported my parents to the insurance company. A lot has happened since then. My parents took a plea deal. Dad got probation and community service. Mom got probation, community service, and was ordered to pay back Grandma Ruth with a strict payment plan supervised by the court. Maya's case was more complicated. Because of her age and the seriousness of the charges, she faced potential jail time. But her lawyer worked out a deal. Guilty plea, 2 years probation, alcohol monitoring, mandatory counseling, and a suspended license for 3 years. She moved back in with our parents. She's working at a coffee shop now, trying to save up for community college since she lost her scholarship. Charlotte recovered from her injury, though she told the court she still has limited mobility in her right hand. She's back at Westfield, a semester behind but determined to graduate. Isabel and Nathan, the other passengers, both testified against Maya. They were given immunity in exchange for their cooperation. Grandma Ruth moved in with me. She couldn't afford her senior living facility anymore, and she refused to live with my parents again. She's doing well. We actually get along great. She cooks dinner most nights, and in return, I help her with her physical therapy exercises. She still hasn't fully forgiven Dad. I don't think she ever will. As for me, I'm still paying the increased insurance premium. The insurance company couldn't do anything about it since the claim was technically filed in my name. It'll take another year before my rate goes back to normal. I also lost most of my extended family. The ones who sided with my parents stopped inviting me to holidays and family events. I spent Thanksgiving with Tyler and his wife. Christmas with Grandma Ruth. It was quiet, but peaceful. Tyler's been amazing through all of this. He's the brother I wish I'd had growing up. I haven't spoken to my parents or Maya in 4 months. They stopped trying to contact me after the sentencing. I think they finally realized I'm not going to apologize for doing the right thing. Sometimes I see Maya's social media posts through Tyler. She still plays the victim, still posts about forgiveness and second chances. But I notice she never posts about taking responsibility or making amends. Some things never change. A few weeks ago, I ran into Charlotte at the grocery store. She recognized me from the court proceedings. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "for coming forward, for telling the truth. I know it cost you a lot. I'm just sorry you got hurt in the first place. Your sister should be the one apologizing, not you. But I wanted you to know that what you did mattered. It held people accountable who needed to be held accountable." That conversation meant more to me than she'll ever know. Because at the end of the day, that's what this was always about. Not revenge. Not jealousy. Just accountability. Maya drove drunk and hurt someone. My parents tried to cover it up and committed multiple crimes in the process. And when I found out, I had a choice. Protect the family image or do what was right. I chose what was right. Was it easy? No. Do I regret it? No. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because sometimes love means holding the people you care about accountable. Even when they hate you for it. Even when it costs you relationships. Even when it tears your family apart. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable destructive behavior. I just wish I hadn't had to learn that lesson at the expense of my entire family. But here we are. Grandma Ruth is in the kitchen right now, making her famous pot roast. Tyler's coming over for dinner tonight with his wife. We're going to watch a movie and play board games and just exist as the family we've chosen to be. And tomorrow, I'll wake up and go to work and live my life, knowing that I did the right thing. Even if it was the hardest thing I've ever done. That's my story. The story of how opening an insurance letter exposed years of favoritism, enabling, and criminal behavior. The story of how my parents stole from my grandmother to protect my sister from facing consequences for drunk driving. It's not a happy story. There's no redemption arc, no tearful reunion, no moment where my parents suddenly see the error of their ways. But it's the truth. And sometimes the truth is messy and painful and costs you everything you thought you had. But it's still worth telling.